Welcome back to Pod by the BAE. I'm Seth Varnadore, joined by Anthony Vito, and we are brought to you by the Bay Area Examiner and Homefield. Use our code BA15 for 15% off your first order at homefieldapparel.com. You can use our affiliate link in the description if you've already ordered. Vito and I are both home fielding right now. Vito's got the Golden Brahmins. I've got a beautiful sailing shirt on. Which
That's national champion sailing.
Steve can regale everyone with the sailing. He's talked about it in the Discord a little bit. I'm not quite sure what's happening there, so I'm not going to talk sailing. But if you want to get one of these beautiful shirts or a jacket or a sweatshirt, use code BA15 for 15% off your first order at homefieldapparel.com. Or like I said, if you've already ordered there, you just want to help the site out, order some more, you can use our affiliate link in the description. So, Vito, I don't know anything about sailing, but I do know a little bit about football, and we got a football schedule.
We got a football schedule. I feel like we've been waiting for months, and somehow the AAC just likes to slip it in somewhere between the end of February and early March, where everybody already knows what they're doing, they're planning their stuff, and then here we go. American Athletic Conference, front and center.
Yeah, it was. We're putting it out in February, and it was about the last possible moment of February. You put the schedule out, so we'll go ahead and throw that up. We already knew the games, but now we know kind of the order of the games. Interesting is it's really like 3-4 game seasons almost because you have bye weeks. I think bisecting, so you have 4 games in a bye, 4 games in a bye. So. That'll be interesting to see if that factors into their kind of preparation at all. But looking at this, obviously, I think one of the big stories would be the Boise State game is the Thursday game now, which I think probably means it's going to be a national TV game. I believe Nick Simon said on our Discord there's a Cincinnati-Nebraska game on the same night. I would imagine that's a Fox game or an FS1 game. So I would not be shocked to see USF Boise State as the ESPN national game.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people are kind of on the fence on Thursday night games. When it comes to that opening weekend with Labor Day, you kind of get lost in the entire schedule, whatever's happening on that Saturday. I think it's really interesting on Thursday. Everyone's hungry for football, and they're going to watch every ounce that they can. So you can get Boise State, USF, which – some people will take a look and be like, that's a pretty strong G5 matchup or G6, however you want to delineate it. That's a pretty strong game. And putting that on ESPN front and center is great. And then you also get that extra time when you're about to go to UF the week after. So have it at home. Again, you're getting Boise State at home. That's a cool series. Like when they scheduled this, Boise State's one of those teams, the once in future Big East team that almost happened. Yeah. The olds will remember that back in the day. But I think it'll be a lot of fun on your turf. But Thursday night game, a lot of people are kind of like, really would like that to be on a Saturday. But I just feel like Saturday gets so lost. There's so many games going on that weekend.
Especially, I think there's going to be some pretty big ones happening. I think Miami. I'm not sure when, but Miami Notre Dame is a week 1 game. So there's some like big national games. So you have a chance to kind of have a national spotlight possibly, which in the past hasn't worked out so well to have game 1 be the national spotlight game, but we'll see. Let's see if they
Boise State isn't quite, Wisconsin with Jonathan Taylor.
No, they're losing their great running back.
BYU with Puka Nacua.
Yeah, they're so it'll be interesting because they're ones that I think they kind of return. Bill Connolly put out his returning production. They were higher than I think a lot of people thought. They return a lot, but they don't return, obviously, Genty, who is unbelievable. I think they lost one of their kind of NFL caliber defensive linemen as well. So they lost important pieces, but they return a lot of a really good team. So that'll be a really good test early. Obviously, the first 3 games are really, really good tests. My big question or not my big question, one of my questions when kind of looking through the schedule here, as you, Vito, are a season ticket holder,
that's true.
What do you think about the home slate this year?
Well, there's not a lot of Saturday games, Seth.
Well, there's that part of it too. Yeah, I was thinking more of like who you get to play, but
well, you get Boise State, which they're quote unquote they're a Mountain West team. I guess they'll be Pac-12 at that point, which is still G5, G6 next year. Okay,
yeah, I'm
but
not.
I always feel like when
always...
you're invited, that cachet is at least there. So they're still what you would call group of 5 or 6, whatever. So they're still kind of a brand name because everybody remembers the Fiesta Bowl and everybody remembers they went to the playoff last year. You can't take that away from them. But then the rest of the home slate: South Carolina State, Charlotte, Florida Atlantic, UTSA, Rice. So Rice, UTSA, and Charlotte and Florida Atlantic are all part of the newer additions from the CUSA 6, and you get all of them at home. And the other home game is Boise State and South Carolina State. That is to try to sell people to get season tickets when you had Miami last year. A couple years ago, you had Alabama. That's tough. Now, as a season ticket holder for me, I'm a fan of the program, and I'm going to go to the game regardless who they're playing. And these are at least what you would consider winnable games for a program that should be on that third year under Golesh, should be looking a little bit higher than what they've been at. And this could be something that's interesting where you can get your W's at home. I'm not saying any of these teams are slouches. You lost to Rice,
Yeah.
But when it comes to brand names, buddy, putting this on a billboard, you're not going to get your standard Tampa folk to come on.
There's going to be a big Boise State logo like they used to have on their helmet that takes up like most of the entire thing, and then there'll be the other one. I do think, like, on the silver lining, positive side of this, a lot of winnable home games. So you should have a really good home record. So when you are in front of your home crowd, you should be performing pretty well. Definitely your tougher games are on the road, even in conference. But the other thing, you mentioned it, is 3 of these home games. The Charlotte game is a Friday night. The UTSA game is a Thursday night. And then the Boise game is a Thursday night. So you have 3 of your home games not on Saturdays. You also have a Friday night game at North Texas. So it's and I think, like, it's right. There's probably a good and bad here, and that the good would be that you're probably being moved to these times so you can be on national TV because people want to watch you. The bad would be, like, you got to get to work. You got to get these games from work, like it's it's a lot tougher on the kind of in town or the fan that wants to come to the game. So it's going to be an odd season for that. And I don't think USF has a lot of control over that. I think it's probably a TV partner thing, but man, it's a tough break.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, whatever your TV partner says, in this case, ESPN, it goes. This is not Michael Kelly's doing. This is not the university's doing. This is not, they've been, they've only been 7-6. I think I said they've been bad before. So that's why they're getting, has nothing to do with that. It has to do with TV. And in fact, it could be that USF tends to put more eyeballs on the TV station compared to some other programs, which is why you're in these spots, because you're going to be on ESPN or ESPN2 or ESPNU and not like on, on ESPN Plus for these. So it's tough on that regard. I always say, like, when I get it during the week, it's tough, especially Friday. If you have, kids in high school who are playing football, that changes that dynamic. Yeah. It's hard to get out of work, especially now. You want to go ahead and have a full tailgate day, but you're hoping if it's a night game, you get more people involved. You can get more people there, or at least get more eyeballs on the game, and try to do what you can with your work schedule. There are some people who work on Saturdays and they can't make it to Saturdays. And I mean, I know that's few and far between, but I've seen kind of waffling on both sides of it. If it's like, this is a terrible slate, but hey, you know what? Maybe the versatility helps you a little bit because you get a few extra days. Like, some of these are, like you mentioned with the bye weeks, you're getting a Thursday, but you're not going immediately from a Saturday to a Thursday. You get a bye week.
Yeah. So I think the other side of this is, right, with what kind of looms over all of college football is realignment, getting chances to go to a bigger conference. So what's probably more important, marginal, I don't know. There could be maybe a big difference between a weeknight crowd and a Saturday crowd, or, the difference between that or, winning on national TV. Like, what's more important to potential partners or the brand, I guess. I would think winning on national TV is probably more important to helping build the brand, right? The difference between 25,000 and 40,000, where like the upper deck is still not full. That's probably negligible, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm also looking at Charlotte on a Friday. If that was a Saturday game at noon, you're not getting anybody. I mean, I'm sorry, I don't want to say you're not getting anybody, but the amount of people that would be at that Saturday noon game versus the amount of people that are going to be there Friday night is probably negligible, like you mentioned, and you might get a few more people.
Yeah, and you very well may be coming into that game 1-3 because you got a very difficult. So that probably wasn't going to be the hottest ticket, regardless.
Yeah, and I'm on the fences as I get. Obviously, a lot of people go like, "Well, I can't tailgate because I have to come straight from work." Well, you probably can a little bit. You can't tailgate for 5 hours unless you're off from work, and I get that to an extent. But you're able to get those eyeballs on TV. And I hate to say it, those Thursday Friday games, even if you look at like Maction or like
really
QSA's earlier in the week, people want to go watch football. When it's on, they're going to watch it. And that's way better than when you go on a Saturday and you have a giant slate of games and you're competing against that. I mean, shoot, we kind of mentioned on just that opening weekend. Sorry, just because I started remembering what that schedule was. You got Florida State and Alabama that week. And I don't know where that's going to end up being, but that's planned to be on Saturday. Did you want to compete against that? I think Florida. Who's Florida playing?
Week 1 they have a cupcake.
Okay, never mind then. So it's one of those things where it's like, I mean, Saturday's a gigantic slate. Thursday it's a lot more tenable. I mean, granted, there's a lot of different game options going on. Like, it's almost turning into like that opening weekend. It's extended from week 0. It's just a matter of time before like a Monday and a Tuesday game slips in there. There's a lot of games starting Wednesday.
Looking at the Thursday night, you have Nebraska and Cincinnati is kind of a bigger one, but where you have two kind of good brands, USF, Boise State's probably second. You can maybe make an argument for East Carolina, NC State, but I think Boise State's probably a bigger national brand than NC State, and USF's probably a bigger national brand than ECU. But yeah, most of the other games are, you got some like Mountain West versus MAC action, it looks like, and just a couple of, so there's not a ton. But like you said, on that Saturday, you have Alabama, Florida State, Auburn at Baylor, which could be a sneaky one, LSU at Clemson, Tennessee at Syracuse, Texas at Ohio State.
Oh yeah, that was the other gigantic one. What a freaking helmet game. Wow.
Yeah. Like, so it's, you might, I'm going to go on a limb and say you'd probably get lost in the shuffle playing on Saturday. And then Sunday, you have South Carolina at Virginia Tech, Notre Dame at Miami. And then that Monday night is Belichick's first game against TCU. So, like, Thursday night is probably a pretty good night to open the season. The other weeknight games, I think I understand the frustration, but especially for the opener, it's not the worst to kind of get that stage. Now, hopefully you can do better than you have the last couple of times you've gotten kind of a big stage to start the season, but we shall see. Other news for USF football is Stieg mentioned on the Discord last week or so, or that there may be some more additions to the staff on the personnel side. And today, Harding Harper was announced as the executive director of recruiting and personnel. Played at Vanderbilt, worked at Alabama, Colorado, Houston, and most recently at Vanderbilt. On the personnel side, he is going to be, like I said, the executive director of recruiting and personnel. So pretty high up. Vanderbilt did a pretty good job in recruiting for kind of what they were. He was there last season as the director of college scouting. So that, is that like the transfer portal? Because they had a pretty good transfer portal class that came in there and got Vanderbilt to kind of a bowl win this year. So he seems to be pretty well thought of, working a few stops in the SEC and also at Houston.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like such a great get, especially where I feel like this part of the cycle, it's just that a lot of people move, like shuffling and movement, some NFL work, and this is just a really great ad. And again, shout out to shout out to Steve to be, being able to kind of to read some of the tea leaves and add some of that to the Discord. Again, I try to say this all the time because I'm not as in tune as on the recruiting end as much as you guys are, especially him when he's able to find he'll like leave little nuggets in that Discord, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh wow, okay. So obviously go ahead and take a look if you haven't already. Again, $5 just get you in there, and then you can see, and you never know what you get. I like this ad. I love when you see the experience. I mean, it just speaks for itself, and I just feel like a lot of the coaching staff ads have been really great for Golesh's staff.
Yeah, another win. It seems like for USF football here. Speaking of winning, the track and field program has won back-to-back American Athletic Conference indoor titles. That program has made quite a turnaround. Won a bunch of different events. Obviously, I think the big names out of there is Saminu Abdul-Rashid and Kobe Babin qualifying for the national championships. Abdul-Rashid in the 60 meters, and then Babin pole vaulter. So Babin also is back-to-back indoor conference champ. Mm-hmm. And Abdul-Rashid has been kind of crushing it the last couple years. He finished. He's the national finisher last year. Was All-American. So he's kind of just keeping it rolling here.
This is so impressive on the indoor, and this was just like accolade after accolade, podium finish after podium finish. Yeah. And it's like, we kind of mentioned in a lot of these events that, oh, hey, look, they're killing it again, but this is legitimately the AAC championship, and it's just like domination. Like USF track and field right now is a major player in the programs, and that's getting more. This is just the indoor. Outdoor is going to have a lot of success too. One thing that got me, so Kobe Babin won first, but all the pole vaulters that on the podium for the champ were all USF. So they got a podium sweep in the pole vault. Can you imagine if you're the other schools? Like, are you freaking kidding me? Including freshman of the year, Nick. Oh man, I'm not Nicodem Pochopian plays second. Noah Bitter plays third, and it's just one of those like, it's just like seriously. So all three are top three. Incredible. Like that's an incredible.
If you're like, I'm the third best guy on my team, but I'm also the third best guy in the entire conference.
Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty. It's kind of a glass half full kind of a thing.
Just podium finish after podium finish. Markel Jones got a meet record in the hurdles. Shania Benjamin again finished third best at AC indoor. It's like the graphics team had to be going nuts that on this weekend. Just like, oh shoot, another one. Oh gosh.
Yeah. Hopefully they had a versatile template so they could get this thing cranked out because they had to crank them out fast.
Yep. And Saminu Abdul-Rashid, men's 60 clocked an impressive 6.58 to claim the indoor championship. It's just like, and he is.
I think he was also named MVP. I think of the entire championships. Yeah. He's just been a machine the last couple of years.
Yeah. Gabriel Moranta, 400 meter. 400's hard. I don't know if you guys have run. 400 is very hard.
I've had to run 400 meters, just not very well, but I've had to do it.
Just
not easy.
400 meter for Rushana Dwyer for AC. Oh my goodness! So like literally it's as you're looking through it, the easiest way to go through this is just like you just look at what the USF track and field cross country Twitter puts out, and it's just like champions and meet record holders. Yeah. Look at all that. It's just like this is great. This is just a program that is just risen, and watching what they do and how the different, because sometimes it's like, okay, well, you had one or two guys and they come through the program and they graduate, and then it's kind of brings back to the mean. But this is just literally the coaching is just incredible. The staff Coach Jenkins has built is just phenomenal, and it's really cool to see indoor, outdoor. I mean, one of these years we're going to go to one of these meets and just be like, I need to learn about track and field. I never ran. My brother ran cross country in high school, so I was always interested. I was like, "Do you run across the country?" No. Okay, it's fine.
Well, speaking of kind of a ton of winning, there's a good theme of winning early. Men's tennis had a pretty good week. They were on the road a ton. They beat Oregon, I believe. And then you also had Hugo Carr win Men's Tennis Player of the Week. That's the second different men's tennis player to win Conference Player of the Week in like the last 3 weeks. I think they've won 2 of the last 3. Carr is an interesting one. It's his first year playing. He's played JUCO before, but he was the number 1 ranked JUCO player in the country, and he won the national championship last year for singles. Was also first team All-American twice in his time in JUCO. So if you can kind of get him rounded in the form, you've seen the men's tennis team has kind of started to pick it up recently, and going out and beating Oregon, who I don't know how great they are in tennis, but that's a big name program. And then also I think they played TCU and Pacific as well. So
yeah, their most recent they did lose to TCU, but TCU historically is a good program.
TCU is second in the country.
Yeah, exactly.
And Carr won. I think Hugo Carr won his matchup against TCU. So
there you go.
Big the guy ranked 11th in the country. So Hugo Carr is 54th. He's but I imagine that you may see that go up even a little higher. So a good week for tennis. Basketball, we're going to talk a little bit more basketball and really the basketball and the ball and bat sports in the Ponderosa. USF's game against USF women's basketball's game against Tulane has been canceled. I think they probably figured, hey, this doesn't really affect seeding. This tournament seeding is out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would have been March.
What's the point of making them do this? So
yeah, it would have been tomorrow, March 6th. But unfortunately, USF lost their last 2 games at Tulsa, 66-58, and then against ECU on senior night this past Saturday, 66-57. It's just, I think some injuries are piling up, some fatigues piling up, and we'll see if they can make a run during the conference tournament. I think they've clinched the 3 seed, I believe, if that's correct. More on the Ponderosa.
They're set in. Yeah, they're set in as the 3 seed. They'll play their first game next Monday, March 10th.
Monday the 10th.
The winner of Wichita State and Tulane. We'll talk a little bit more about kind of the slide because this is something we've been talking about the last few weeks, Steve and I. There's really, maybe you could have had an outside shot if you won out and you were entering and maybe lost to a good UTSA team in the final, but. At this point, it's just you got to win the tournament. That's your only chance to kind of play significant postseason basketball. So we'll see if they can do it. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in the Ponderosa. That's for the $10 a month patrons. You can join that, get the extra podcast each week, give or take. We'll also talk a little men's basketball. They still have a game Friday against Memphis, but I think their season is not too long for this world. Have a 3-game losing streak going right now. It's been a rough year. So
the injuries are tough. I mean, they lost to FAU, but they just don't have the height right now, and they keep crawling back. So even if they seem like they're down, they're never out. But it's been too tough. Again, it's just. Stieg always says it, and every time I'm watching this team, I'm like, I just want to give coach and the players a big old hug for going out there and like doing what they do, and they play hard, but it's harder. You only have like 2 or 3 bigs, and so they're all playing, and you're playing against a team who has a full rotation, so it's tough. That tournament starts, so right now they're currently 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9th in the conference. And I think that holds whatever happens against. Memphis, who clinched number 1. So maybe the rest of a bunch of starters, and maybe you can steal a win. How about that?
Yeah, maybe we'll. That'd be all right. Wouldn't be the worst thing. All right, so let's move on to baseball. Great start to the series against UCF. Not a great finish. Game tonight against FGCU got postponed due to weather. It looks like.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, sometimes it's good to wait for the series to end, right? Like
there was a lot of
excitable early.
Yeah, there was a lot of like because it's UCF, so USF UCF is always going to bring out a lot of rivalry and a lot of I will say elbow rubbing when it comes to, elbow ribbing rather,
Yeah.
when it comes to online trash talk. And there was a lot of it after the run rule game in game one. Baseball's a 3-game series. UCF then took that and run ruled USF the following 2 games. I don't think I've ever seen that. I mean, run rules in baseball and college baseball now are relatively new to the sport. But you had 3 straight 7-inning games. I guess you're saving some arms. But, buddy, it was tough.
UCF just went on. It turns out UCF might just be pretty good. They went and run ruled Florida, who's, I think, top 10 yesterday. So, the opening game seemed like a really fun time. 13-3 win in 7 innings. And then the next 2, 12-1 loss and a 12-2 loss. I think he had 3 hits in the 12-1 loss, more hits in the 12-2 loss, just weren't able to kind of put it all together. Tough weekend. But we'll talk some more baseball in the Ponderosa as well. We have some advanced stats, and we'll talk through those, see who's standing out, maybe who's been unlucky so far, and maybe if we expect some guys to kind of break out. 3-game series this weekend with Villanova coming into town. So we'll see how those guys. You got 500 baseball sunglasses for the Saturday game, and then Bark in the Park. Kids run the game. Kids run the bases again on Sunday. So there you go. Bring some dogs.
It's always super
kids
exciting.
Run around. Always a good time. What I still think is the best bang for your buck, it seems like, in terms of time investment, softball is coming off a tournament in Texas, the Longhorn Invitational. Kind of went how we thought it would.
And exactly, like as chalky gets, and it's when you start looking at the record, USF is 16-6, and that's like, very, very impressive. But it's exactly how you expected it. Longhorn Invitational, they're out in Texas. They beat New Mexico State in 10 innings, 6-5. That was a thriller on Friday. Then have to turn around and play the Longhorns. They lose 9-5.
You had a 5-4 lead for a while until you give up 5 runs in the bottom of the 6th, but played them pretty tight in that first game for the most part.
Yeah, I think that just you brought Peyton Dixon in again and kind of got the loss in relief, but yeah, you held them strong. That's the hard part about a team like Texas. They have so much depth, and it's not a matter of if, but when they're going to come ahead and break out in an inning, and that was unfortunately in the 6th. So yeah, USF had that 5-4 lead and couldn't quite get it through, as they put up a crooked number, 5 runs in the 6th, and that's kind of what happened there. They rebounded pretty well the game for the following day. Beat Abilene Christian 3-0. Beat Alabama A&M for a 9-1 run rule win, and then Sunday rematch with Texas. 9-1 run rule.
Not quite as close, but Texas is ranked first in one poll, second in the other, so they are very good. And this is another one. We'll talk a little bit more softball in the Ponderosa, because we do have we've got advanced softball stats now too, so we're all over it.
Your money hard at work. Thank you for the Ponderosa patrons. We, like I said, we just put it right back in there. So if we're going to learn about softball advanced stats, we're going to learn about softball advanced stats.
We're talking whips, BABIPs, all kinds of good stuff. So we're going to head there right now. So if you want to hear some great advanced stats, we're going to talk men's basketball. We're going to talk a little women's basketball, kind of looking at where they stand in the conference, kind of going into it. They're the 3 seed, but kind of where do they stand? Baseball, some advanced stats, softball, some advanced stats. So if you're looking to kind of get those advanced numbers, the real ball and bat sicko stuff, join us in the Ponderosa. We'll be back next week with another episode of Pod by the Bay. Thank you guys for watching. If you're enjoying this, you can join us on the Ponderosa through patreon.com/Bay Examiner. $5 a month gets you in the Discord, where you can get some inside information a little bit sooner than the public. $10 gets you one kind of extra podcast a week. Typically, sometimes it's more, but usually about 4 extra pieces of content a month. And then more than that, we send out some nice gift and goodie bags. So fun stuff. Join us there. thank you guys for listening, and go Bulls.
Go Bulls.